because just for recapping purpose, I following, but people misunderstanding. So I don't want to discuss core Java, advanced Java, even that entry point of view also. Okay, Arul Rajan. Okay, I will focus on only Spring Boot. I don't go other next one. Nagababu, yeah, I will. Okay, I will increase. Don't worry. Okay, next one. Next one. Do you require the notes to write online? Do you require the notes? Offline? Do you require the notes? Notes. Oh yes, definitely useful. Oh yes. Then it is covering other stuff also, na Arul Rajan. Oh, okay. So my copy paste the code from the Google online, offline. My copy paste anywhere. So then the people is saying what? He's already developed the programs. Just is showing the output. I don't see that concept what it is, where it is, how it is. Yeah. My intention is I don't want to see my students heroes in KPHB, Amiripet or somewhere. In IT industry, see in the beginning my career, I faced a lot of problems, My knowledge, whenever I enter into the IT industry, how I am going to compile the JSP page. Yeah. See, that means that much knowledge I have at that time. But JSP never compiled as a servlet or as core Java. Okay, as other applications. You never compile. But my intention is how to compile JSP. Where I am working there, while starting my career, TCS, in the beginning day, maybe in the first week, I think so. They never assign the project up to 6 months here. Okay. So going, coming, taking the salary without doing any stuff. Okay. So that's what maybe this all the students, some of the students might be masters in the subject. Some of the students, they don't know completely. Even a core Java also, they didn't understand properly. That students also there in this batch. Right? So that's what here. I'm going core Java, advanced Java. Right? After that Spring Boot, one concept. How it will be implemented in Spring Boot, how it was implemented in advanced Java, how it was implemented in core Java. I'm backtracking topics and the subject, but you are not understanding. You are complaining. Then what? I don't want to get any benefit here if I backtrack. Why it is my time waste, na? Right? Time to time I can close the batch. Okay. So after that I'm getting the one more batch. I'm getting the more Paisal, right? Why I'm taking this much risk? I'm not focusing on earning money. Getting? I am concentrating on what? Only students' life. Okay. Even though Interview questions also. How that question is going to ask directly. How this question is going to ask indirectly. Because I am part of the interview panel. Right? In my career, 3 interview people literally weeping in front of me. I am asking the questions. Literally 3 ladies, 1 gent. Sir, I want to open the door. I want to go out. Please stop the question, asking the questions. That much interview. Okay. They never, what do you mean by class? What do you mean by object? What do you mean by inheritance? They won't ask nowadays. You know, the interviewer is always asking the only one question in the beginning. Question and answer is expecting based on your answer. You know, for example, what do you mean by class? Class is nothing but a combination of the data member and member methods to represent as a single unit is nothing but a class. What do you mean by member method? How many questions I can able to take? You can ask me. What is mean by data member? What do you mean by variable? What is the difference between data member and variable? How many types of variables are there? Story close. In the variable concept only, I will reject that person. Open challenge. How much you know, yaar? Java is the ocean. Java is the ocean. But you can't swim. But how much you can able to swim? That's what I want to bring that much level. I'm trying. But the people is misunderstanding. I don't want to take the risk. I will focus on only on Springboard. Okay. Next one. All advanced Java and all depend on each other on your expectation is what we need. It is beneficial for us. Yes, yeah, I agree. But the people is complaining here. They written like FIR. They mentioned 10 points. Literally, I feel very bad on you. Okay. I don't want to take the risk here. Why? I have to take the risk. What is the benefit? Am I use my mobile while teaching the class? You know, if you call me, it will be switched off my number because I kept on aeroplane mode. Yesterday only I opened my mobile. That means I forgot to keep that aeroplane mode. Even though I got the calls, disconnected. Every day in my class, I am aeroplane mode, my mobile. I will share my number, you can try. It won't work. Getting my point? The people is saying, what, sir, you are using mobile. Foolishness, na? You have to justify yourself. Even though I don't want to write the notes actually. Main points I will cover. That's it. Even though pin to pin I am writing the notes. You know, interview question also. In the beginning, I promised you before the Pongal festival, I will share the material. If I share the material concept oriented, 4 to 5 points is enough to discuss. Then I'm sharing the notes. That is the whole material. Even though I'm not like that. Because of, if I share the material, what is the use here? Without dictating that notes and all. Even though I'm not interested to share that soft copy material. Because of, you never understand, first of all. That's why literally I'm mentioning point by point. So if you are the master in the subject, okay, keep with you. Okay, I will see whether you are master or not in the subject once you get the job. Or once you face the interview. Nowadays interviews, how it will be? They giving the left and right like anything. That's why I'm I am going to down in the subject, but you are not understanding. Why I have to take that much pain? Time waste process, right? Unnecessarily, the time is going waste for me, right? Your choice. You are lose that opportunity. I don't want to take that risk here. I don't know yaar who complained. శాట భారతం రాశారు. నాకు అవసరమా? Open challenge in KPHB. If the Spring Boot and microservices, if they teach like this, I will give the 1 lakh rupee. Open challenge. They simply, okay, profiles concept. How the teaching? I am also here. I faced here. Profiles concept. Okay, what do you mean by profile? Profile, something, 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 something. This is what the notes. అత్త ఒక్కింటి కోడలే కదా. నేను అమీర్పేట నుంచి వచ్చిన నేర్చుకోవడానికి ఇట్లా చెప్పారు. ఏముంది అక్కడ? మీకు ఏమర్థం అవుతుంది చెప్పండి. ఏదో తెలుగులో సామెత ఉండదు, పిలిచి పిల్లనెత్తానంటే ఇంటి వెనక్కి వెళ్ళి మోరేక పెట్టాడు అంట వాడు. అంటే ఇంత మంచిగా చెబుతుంటే మీకు బుర్రకి ఎక్కట్లేదు. ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు టేక్ ది రిస్క్. థ్యాంక్ యూ. కరెక్ట్, యూ కరెక్ట్ మీ. కదా, ఎవరో ఏజే అంట. అంటే కరెక్ట్ చెప్పానని పాపం ఆయన మనకి మంచిగా ఏదేంటి అర్థం కాలే. ఓకే, today's class and the previous classes you can compare. Which one you can require, please let me know, then we can decide from tomorrow onwards. Okay, right. See, I know while learning the course how much pain. Okay, literal I faced. I don't know any circle in Amirpet. One day after completing of my class, I didn't understand. Sometimes he is calling while learning the core Java, that too. Yeah, I don't know at that time C++. Okay. Sometimes the faculty is saying method. Sometimes he is saying what function. What is the difference between function and method? I don't know. Literally one day, very long story. Amirpet, Satya Technologies. I learned one day after completing of that class. Maybe I joined maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, I think so, maybe. So evening the class is completed, the writings coming, but I didn't understand anything. My books throw away. I went to rain. Literally I wept. Why unnecessarily came to Java? I didn't understand what is the subject. What do you mean by object? What do you mean by class? What do you mean by function? What do you mean by method? I came from that level. That's why I know that pain. That's why I'm going to down. If you are not understanding my level of teaching, then how the faculty is going to give the class? If I go like that, you never understand. Open challenge. Open challenge. You never understand. If I go professionally, you never understand. Maybe some of the people might be understand. But my intention, whoever attended online, offline, everyone should be understand. Everyone should be the same line. That is what I'm expecting. Okay. I'm requesting whoever have the more knowledge, overconfident people, you will never get the job. You will never get the job. Overconfident. Confident is okay. Overconfident, it will never work anywhere in your career. Open challenge. If you are overconfident, you will never get the job. You should be change your track. ఐటీకి దండం పెట్టేసి బయటికి వెళ్తారు మీరు. ఓవర్ కాన్ఫిడెంట్ పీపుల్. ఓకే, సరే, లైట్ వాట్ ఎవర్. Yeah, agree, madam, but the people is misunderstanding. That is what Sonali. Okay, right, majority people asking, that's why I'm going down. Otherwise, once I take the decision, even God says I never change. Okay, before complaining, justify yourself. You can speak 1 minute your heart. Okay, now how much feel, that's what I'm sharing in front of you. Okay, today almost all time is over. Why you are unnecessarily wasting our time? Whoever complained, justify yourself. Either mostly offline students, one student only, that too, who complained, please, you can justify yourself here. I don't have any words. ఈ రీతిగా మీకు నోట్స్ రాసి ఇచ్చే ఫ్యాకల్టీ ఎవడో చూపించండి. కేపీహెచ్పిలో కానీ అమీర్పేటలో కానీ ఓపెన్ ఛాలెంజ్. అమీర్పేట నుంచి వచ్చా నేను. మంచితనానికి రోజులు ఉండవు చూసారు. ఇదే ఆఫ్లైన్ స్టూడెంట్సే. మిమ్మల్ని నేనేదో హార్ష్గా డీల్ చేయట్లేదు. ఐ మీన్ ఇంకో రకంగా కాదు. మీరు కంప్లైంట్ చేయబోయే ముందు, నేను మొబైల్ ఆపరేట్ చేసినా మీ కళ్ళు మూసి ఏ రోజైనా ఫోన్ కాల్ ఎత్తానా? నేను ఇందానే చెప్పాను, నా ఫోను నిన్నటి రోజు తప్ప ఎవ్రీ డే మై ఫోన్. అది కూడా మర్చిపోయాను పెట్టడం. ఏరోప్లేన్ మోడ్లో ఉంటుంది నా నెంబర్. ఇప్పుడు నేను నెంబర్ షేర్ చేసి మీరు నా నెంబర్ కలవదు మీ. నేను అందుకే మీ క్లాస్ అయిపోయినాక ఓపెన్ చేస్తాను. తెలుసా, మొబైల్ ఆపరేట్ చేసేనా మరలా కోడ్ మీ ముందు డెవలప్ చేసల్లా, ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసల్లా, ఆ ఫ్లో వర్డ్ బై వర్డ్, లైన్ బై లైన్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాను ప్రతి ఎనటేషన్ ని. నాకు నేనుగా ప్రోగ్రామ్ రాసుకొని వెళ్ళిపోయినా, కంప్లైంట్ చేసేటప్పుడు కొంచెం బుద్ధి జ్ఞానం పెట్టుకోవాలా మనిషి అనేటోడు. అర్థమైందా? ప్రొఫెషనల్గా క్లాస్ చెప్పినంటే ఒక్కడికి అర్థం కాదు. నా లెవెల్లో నేను వెళ్ళిపోతుందా ఆ రోజు నుంచి చూసారా? అది క్లాస్ అంటే, ప్రొఫెషనల్ క్లాస్ అంటే ఏమీ ఉండదు నోట్స్ అక్కడ. అలా ఉంటది చెప్పనా? అందరూ పోయి కంప్లైంట్ చేస్తారు, సార్ ఇంతకుముందు జరిగినట్టు చెప్పమానండి క్లాస్, దండం పెడతాం అంటారు. ఎలా చెప్పాలో ఇప్పటికి ఇది 18th year ఐ థింక్ సో. ఐ మీన్ వైల్ స్టార్టెడ్ ద టీచింగ్. 18వ సంవత్సరం ఇది. ఎవరికి ఎలా చెప్పాలో తెలుసు, ఏ రేంజ్లో చెప్పాలో తెలుసు, దాన్ని ఎంతవరకు లాగాలో తెలుసు, అన్నీ తెలుసు. మీ మీదైతే నేను కోపంగా మాట్లాడట్లేదు. నేను చెప్పేది చేస్తున్నా. నేను మీ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఏదైతే ప్రామిస్ చేసిందో అదే మీకు డెలివరీ అవుతుంది. ఇంకా బియాండ్ దట్ వెళ్తుంది. స్ప్రింగ్ బోర్డ్ జేడిపిసి మీకు ఇచ్చిన కోర్స్ కంటెంట్ లో లేదు. స్ప్రింగ్ బోర్డ్ జేడిపిసి మీకు ఇచ్చిన కంటెంట్ లో లేదు. 3 days చెప్పావా? 3 or 4 days? 4 days వేస్ట్ నా? అర్థమవుతుందా మీకు? తెలుగు వాళ్ళే ఇచ్చింది కంప్లైంట్, అది ఆఫ్లైన్ వాళ్ళే. 4 రోజులు అవసరమా కంటెంట్ లో లేని దాన్ని? ఎందుకు చెప్పానో తెలుసా? జేడిపిసి వస్తే వారం ఈజీగా ఉంటది, అందుకని వెళ్ళాను నేను. అఫ్ కోర్స్ మీరు ఈ అడ్వాన్స్ జావాలో మీరు కంప్లీట్ చేసి ఉండొచ్చు, కానీ స్ప్రింగ్ బూట్ లో ఎలా వాడతాం మీకు తెలియాలి. అది 4 days చెప్పాను నేను. నాకు అవసరమా? అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. ఈ టైంలో మీకు చెప్పే టైంలో ఒక సాఫ్ట్వేర్ కంపెనీ కార్పొరేట్ ట్రైనింగ్ అడిగింది నన్ను. 1 గంట వచ్చి చెప్పండి, 40 రోజులు. 1 గంట 40 రోజులు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. 3 లక్షలు. 3 లక్షలు అయినా వదులుకున్నా. ఎందుకో తెలుసా? నేను ఇక్కడ కమిట్ అయ్యాను. అర్థమవుతుంది? ఇంకా చెప్పాలంటే, సార్ నాకు హెల్త్ బాగాలేదు, నేను రాను, మీరు వేరే వాళ్ళని చూసుకోండి అంటే చూసుకుంటారు. నా ప్లేస్ ఇంకొన్ని చూస్తారు. నాకు అవతల 3 లక్షలు వస్తుంది. డబ్బు అంటే దీన్ని బట్టి నేను డబ్బుకి అమ్ముడుపోయే మనిషిని కాదు. డబ్బుకి అమ్ముడుపోయే మనిషిని అయితే 4 రోజులు మీకు స్ప్రింగ్ బూట్ జేడిపిసి చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం నాకు లేదు. ఆ 4 రోజుల్లో స్ప్రింగ్ వారం అయిపోయింది, నెక్స్ట్ ఇంకో కాన్సెప్ట్కి వెళ్ళేవాడిని. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. రైట్, ఆల్మోస్ట్ అవర్ టైమ్ ఈజ్ ఓవర్. సారీ ఫర్ దట్ టుడే. మంచిని మంచిగా తీసుకోవడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. హీరోయిజం ప్రదర్శించవద్దు. నీ హీరోయిజం, నీ విలనిజం నీ దగ్గరే పెట్టుకో. నీ సబ్జెక్ట్లో నీకున్న మాస్టర్స్ అదంతా నీ దగ్గర పెట్టుకో. నువ్వు ఒక్కడవి, నీకంతా సఫ్కోర్స్ నీకు ఆల్రెడీ నేర్చుకుని ఉండావేమో. నీకొక్కడ వల్ల నేను ఇంతమంది వాళ్ళ జీవితం నాశనం చేయలేను. ఎవరైతే కంప్లైంట్ చేశారో మీ ఒక్కరి వల్ల ఇంతమంది జీవితాన్ని నేను నాశనం చేయలేను. వాళ్ళందరూ నన్ను నమ్మొస్తున్నారు. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఎవరైతే కంప్లైంట్ చేశారో, నీ మాస్టరిజం, నీ హీరోయిజం నీ దగ్గర పెట్టుకో. నీ ఒక్కడిని చూసి నేను ఇంతమందిని జీవితాన్ని నాశనం చేయలేను, ఆన్లైన్లో కానీ ఆఫ్లైన్లో కానీ. ఇంకా నేను రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నా, ఆన్లైన్లో అటెండ్ అయినటువంటి వాళ్ళు కూడా, మీరు రండి, ఆఫ్లైన్కి రండి. ఆఫ్లైన్ ఇంకా యాక్టివ్గా ఉంటుంది, ఇంటరాక్టివ్గా ఉంటుంది. అతి వాళ్ళు ఉంటారు, వాడు ఎక్కడ సెట్ కాదు. నేను చెప్తున్నా, ఓపెన్ ఛాలెంజ్. ఇంతమందిని చూస్తే నా కెరీర్లో 100 మంది, 1000 మందికి చెప్పాను ట్రైనింగ్, ఆన్లైన్ ఆఫ్లైన్, యుఎస్ పీపుల్ కూడా. ఎక్కడ నేర్చుకోవటానికి వాడికి ఇగో అడ్డొచ్చేసి, మళ్ళీ ఒక స్టూడెంట్ అమెరికా వెళ్ళి, అమెరికాలో వాడికి మళ్ళా నా దగ్గరకే వచ్చాడు. అక్కడ దేశం అంతా తిరిగి, ఇక్కడ ఆల్రెడీ ఫీజు పే చేసాడు వేరే ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్లో నేను ఉన్నప్పుడు. తర్వాత అక్కడ అబ్రాడ్లో చెప్పేవాడికి మేము చెప్పాలంటే ఏంటి, చాలా ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తాం. కోర్ అండ్ అడ్వాన్స్డ్కి 50,000 డ్రా చేస్తాం. అక్కడ కుదిరింది బాగా వాడికి. ఈ ఇండియా ప్రైస్ అయితే నేను చెప్పను అని చెప్పాను. 50,000 కట్టాడు ఓన్లీ కోర్ అండ్ అడ్వాన్స్డ్కి. ఓవర్ యాక్షన్ చేయొద్దు. వేర్ ఇస్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్? స్ప్రింగ్ బూట్ జేపీఏ ఎలా చెప్పాలో నాకు తెలుసు. అలాంటి వాడు ఒంటరిగా ఉన్నట్టయితే వారం రోజుల్లో కంప్లీట్ చేసేసి క్లోజ్ పంపించేవాడిని. కానీ ఒక్కడి వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది జీవితాన్ని నాశనం చేయలేను కదా. కంప్లైంట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఇది జెన్యూనా లేదా ఫేకా, లేదా నా ఈగోని నేను చూపించుకుంటున్నానా, నీకు నువ్వు జస్టిఫై చేసుకో. నాకు కిడ్స్ ఉన్నారు, నేను మ్యారీడ్. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఇక్కడ మిమ్మల్ని మోసం చేస్తే ఇంకొకటి నా పిల్లల్ని మోసం చేస్తాడు ఫ్యూచర్లో. అర్థమైందా? అలాంటి పనికి మాలిన పనులు నేను చేయను. నేను కింద నుంచి వచ్చిన వాడిని ఈ స్థాయికి. అర్థం చేసుకోండి. ఓకే, వెరీ వార్. వాట్ ఇస్ ద లాస్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ హియర్? Sorry guys, sorry all of you. Okay, unnecessarily today's time is wasted. Okay, today's date is what? 5. Okay, what do you discuss? Somewhere we stopped, right? Hibernate. This is what? Okay, let me summarize yesterday's discussion. Just 5 minutes. ORM stands for object relational mapping. That is, there is a Java class, there is a database table. Our Java class is going to mapping with database table. Our Java class variables is going to mapping with what? Database column. That is called what? ORM concept. That is object relational mapping. Okay. So I given a lot of things, okay, yesterday. Okay, even though if I go point by point again, they are complaining. Sir, yesterday's notes also discussing today. Okay, right. HBM to DDL dot auto. This is what yesterday we stopped, right? HBM, that is hibernate mapping. HB hibernate M mapping to DDL, data definition language dot auto. That means the DDL related commands. The DDL related commands I'm talking about with respect to the database. Creating the table, altering the table, deleting the table, right? Modifying the table, something, whatever you have. So the DDL related commands, whatever you are going to do in the database, okay, the same thing we can able to achieve through our code. Through our code. Instead of writing the create the table, something, our code itself, it is going to creating the table. So I think in the Spring Boot JDBC, we use like data.sql, schema.sql. The schema.sql also I created that table. Yes or no? Create table, I think employer, student, something, right? Some columns. So while executing that program, that schema.sql file, it is automatically executed. Even it is automatically creating the table. But here you should understand, I already created that table in schema.sql file. Yes or no? But even though I don't want to do that one, just based on one small code, one line of code, the table will be going to create. I don't want to create table name, something, some column, I don't do anything. Just only one statement or one line of statement. That is called what? HBM to DDL dot auto. Auto stands for what? Automatically. Whatever the DDL related commands are there, my framework itself or my container itself, it is going to take that responsibility. Getting my point? Okay. So what it can do? If you want to create the table, updating the table, validating the table, create or drop the table. Okay, these things we are going to discuss in detail. Wait. So HBM to DDL dot auto, like it is performing all those things automatically. So one by one I am going to take care of it. First of all, create. What is the create? What it can do? See, The create is what? Every time it creates what? A new table. Every time the table is going to create. That is what? Create. Okay. If the old table exists, it will be drop it. Okay. Right. What? Every time it creates what? It creates new table. Sir, if already table is there, then what will happen? That point also I'm going to cover. If old table exist, then drop it. Okay. This point or this bracket only for existing table. Okay, let me go for the common point. Every time it creates what? A new table. On application startup. Application startup. That is what? Create. Next one. What? Update. Update. So what the update will do? Update, create a new table if it does not exist. Create the table if what? If does not exist. Does not exist. Else use old same table. Okay, right. Using what? Same table. Third one is what? Validate. Okay, validate. So what is the validate? See, either JPA, either Hibernate will not create any table. Programmer has to create that table manually. Okay. JPA or Hibernate. Will not create any table. Programmer has to create manually. Okay. Manually. If you are not using that create or this entry, basically HBM to DDL.entry, if you are not to mention any JP, any Hibernate, anything, it won't be create the table. You have to, that is, the programmer has to what? Create that table manually. Next one, create or drop. Create or drop. That means what? Create table on application start. Okay. Create the table. Mostly similar here. Okay. Little bit change. That's it. Okay. Create the table on what? Application startup. Application startup. And after operation, very, very important, interview question. You know what do you mean by create? You know, you what do you mean by update? If simple general English might be you are getting, you are able to answer. Okay, but create hyphen drop, it is little problem. Okay, here if we are using this option, create the table on application startup, and after operation what? Drop the table while stopping the application. While stopping the application. Famous interview question. Okay. Mostly out of these four, the interviewer focusing on what? It is little complicated for us. I know. So it means creating the table while start the application. But after operation, the application itself dropping the table. If the application might be stopped, then automatically it can be drop the table. So in the servlet, there is maybe in the application you are used that everything you got the some result what you are expected. When the servlet object is going to destroy, maybe application stop. There is a multiple ways are there, not only single. If you close the browser, object destroyed. If they stop the server, object destroy. If the server struck up, even though that object going to delete. Okay, right. So online, are you okay? Okay, right. See, validate I am going to explain. Validate is what? It is one of the option. While using HPM2 DDL dot auto is equal to what? Validate. See, the validate, it is validating the table first of all. In generally, if you are not using this feature, you won't expect the table. Right? So, even if I use the HPM2 DDL dot auto is equal to validate, then what? The JPA will or Hibernate will not create any table. Programmer only has to create. That is based on the configuration. So, might be there is some default tables are there. It might be getting, see, let me give the more explanation. So let me give the default value. If you are using validate, the default value for what? External databases. See, mostly we are not using anyway, but there is an option. JPA or Hibernate will not create any table. Programmer has to create them manually. But here, the condition is what? The default value for external databases. It means table there or not. It is just checking. Okay. Maybe some like maybe if you are familiar with the JavaScript, we are going to perform the client side validations. Validation ఏం చేస్తుంది? నువ్వు ఎంటర్ ఇచ్చావా వాల్యూ లేదా? ఓకే, ఏం లేదు మ్యాండేటరీ ఫీల్డ్కి నువ్వు వాల్యూ ఇవ్వలేదు అనుకో, ఏం చేస్తుంది? ప్లీజ్ ఎంటర్ ద వాల్యూస్ ఆన్ సో ఫస్ట్ నేమ్, లాస్ట్ నేమ్, మిడిల్ నేమ్, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. ఓకే, some kind of validation here on the table side. Okay, Right. Coming to create or drop. See, okay. So create or drop what? Create the table on the application start or startup. Okay, start or startup. Anything is okay. For your general English I given. Okay, create the table when application start. After our operation is completed, then what? It is going to drop what table? When while stopping the application. Clear? So we are in Spring Boot JPA. Okay. See, while using that Spring Boot JPA, we should know few annotations. Okay, I will explain in detail. Okay, right. Annotations. See, in the Spring Boot, the interviewer mostly focus on annotations. Okay, this is the one of the part in the interview room. Okay, what is mean by component? What do you mean by component scan? Something I'm telling. Maybe they will expect what is the difference between component and component scan. Okay, don't confuse. Whatever you discuss, you can share in front of the interviewer. I don't want to discuss again. That time is over. Okay, now coming to annotations. In the annotations, so far maybe student class, maybe employee class, you are considered like a model class, you consider as a model, sorry, POSO class or bean class. Okay, right. So that means creating the private variable, generating what setters and getters, maybe if you require generating what constructors, that is parameterized constructor and a default constructor also. That is called either model, either POSO, either bean class. Entity class is different. Entity class is different. In the JPA, we are going to creating the entity class. See, don't think too much. That the entity class, how you developed that bean class or POSO class or model class, similar to that, but little difference. That means you are going to use different annotations. Okay, let me explain. See, entity means what? Entity. What do you mean by object here? You can tell a number of definitions, no? One of the definition is what? It is a real-time entity. Yes or no? Right? You are sometimes saying what? If nothing, if you are not getting in your mind, immediately you are telling what? It is a real-time entity. Some people saying like that. Okay, I have that history. Whenever I'm sitting in front of in the interview room, okay, the people saying what? They're thinking. Yeah, it is a real-time entity. Don't say answer like that also. That is the bad remark on you. Once, like what? Cyclone kind of behavior, it won't be work. Okay, some people thinking, I'm correcting here. Don't misunderstand. Don't complain this one too. From the sitting onwards, once you enter into the interview room, there onwards, the interviewer focus on you. Your attitude, your behavior, am I right? Your punctuality too. See, sometimes the interviewer, you and the interviewer in the room, interviewer is not sitting. Don't sit. దొరకనే దొరికింది కదా గాంధీ గారి సీట్ అని కూర్చోవద్దు. అర్థమైందా? You have to honor, you have to respect interviewer. కొంతమందికి ఈగోలు ఉంటాయి. నీ బోడి ఈగోలు బయట చూపించుకో. ఇంటర్వ్యూ రూమ్లో చేస్తే వాడు తొక్కదేస్తాడు వాడు. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఇంటర్వ్యూవర్ కూర్చోకుండా నువ్వు కూర్చోవద్దు. సెకండ్ వన్, If the interviewer is standing, you have to stand. If the interviewer is sitting, don't sit until get the acknowledgement from the interviewer. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఈ బేసిక్స్ అని ఎవడు చెబుతాడు మీకు? ఈ చెప్పించుకోవడానికి ఎవడెవడో క్లాసులు పెడతాడు, వాడికి సమర్పిస్తారు 2-3 వేలు నేర్చుకున్నాను. ఆడు చెప్పేది మాలాంటి బోర్డోళ్ళని పిలుస్తారు అక్కడ కూడా. ఓ ఇదేదో స్పెషల్ క్లాస్ అట, ఓ దిస్ ఇస్ ద స్పెషల్ క్లాస్. హౌ ద బిహేవియర్ ఇన్ ద ఇంటర్వ్యూ రూమ్? నథింగ్ ఈస్ దేర్. డోంట్ వేస్ట్ యువర్ టైం, యువర్ మనీ. ఓకే, రైట్. ఇఫ్ ద ఇంటర్వ్యూవర్ given the permission, yeah, please sit, then you can sit. Until unless you have to stand. That is also negative. If you are without interviewer information, confirmation, if you are sitting, 1 negative mark on you. Interviews, these are what? Subject 20% or 30%. 70% they are completely read about you by the interviewer. ఓకే, అది మన ఎచ్చులు ఏదైనా ఉంటే బయట, అక్కడ నడవు. ఏదైనా ఇంటర్వ్యూ రూమ్లో ఎంత పీస్ఫుల్గా, డీసెంట్గా, ప్రొఫెషనల్గా బిహేవ్ చేస్తావో అంతగా ఇంటర్వ్యూని మెచ్చుతాడు. తేడా వస్తే ఎంతమందిని చూసి నువ్వు వెళ్ళరా అంటాడు. అఫ్ కోర్స్, రైట్. అది రైట్. కమింగ్ టు హియర్, ఎంటిటీ మీన్స్ వాట్? టేబుల్. ఓకే, రైట్. ఇన్ ద రియల్ వరల్డ్, ఎనీథింగ్ యూ కెన్ కన్సిడర్ as what entity. ఓకేనా? ఇన్ ద రియల్ వరల్డ్, ఎనీథింగ్, ఈవెన్ దిస్ వాటర్ బాటిల్, ఎంటిటీ. దిస్ ల్యాప్టాప్, entity. This mouse is entity. Everything, right? Okay. In the technical point of view, entity means what? Table. In the database also, that this term they are using, right? Entity, entity, entity. Okay. So if you are using this entity annotation, there is annotation also, right? That entity annotation. Entity annotation. What do you mean by entity? Is it mandatory now, this annotation? See, this entity where you are going to create at class level, that means on top of the class, you have to declare this annotation on top of the class. Sir, what is the benefit? Nothing here. If you want to create a class as an entity class, if you want to create a class as an entity class, you should annotate it with what? At the rate entity. Number 1, make our class as a entity class. Then we have to use, or you have to apply, better, you have to apply on top of the what? Class. On the top of the class. Sir, if I am not declared, or if I am not use the at the rate entity annotation, the framework or that container, is there any possibility to make automatically this class as the entity class? Try to understand. Without annotated, with the entity annotation on top of my class, is there any chance? Is there any chance my container or maybe my framework, is there any chance to support? No. It is mandatory. Okay, it is a mandatory. It is a mandatory. Okay, there is no automatically that class treated as an entity class until unless you are annotated that class as what? Entity class. or entity annotation. Clear? Okay. That is what? Entity annotation. Online, are you following? Online? Okay. If you have any doubt online, don't hesitate to ask. Okay? Or else, maybe disturbing the maybe others, then I will give the answer after completing of what? Our session. Don't worry. Sai Tarun. Um, Okay, Sai Tarun, understood. Okay, even I didn't change here. Okay, as regular process I am following. Okay, right. If I follow my professional teaching in front of, instead of these points, this is what the notes. If I go professionally, whether you are understand or not, it doesn't matter for me. That is matter for you, right? Even I am not go like that. Okay. Okay. Tarun, Sai Tarun understood. Thank you. Right. So that is what the story of what? Entity. Next one, at the rate table annotation. At the rate table annotation. See, where you are going to apply this table annotation. See, on the top of the class only, on the top of the class only, but yesterday we discussed about what? ORM. ORM, object relational mapping. That is, our class is going to mapping with what? Database table. Our class variables is going to mapping with what? Database columns, right? This is called what? OR mapping. But in Hibernate, we need to maintain separate class for OR mapping. Getting my point? But in JPA, we don't maintain separately. In entity class, we can cover that mapping too. Clear? Okay. At the rate table annotation, where you are going to declare, we have to apply on top of the class, on top of the class, on top of the class. Okay, right. Next one. See what will happen, if I am not to use this table annotation on top of the class, very, very important. Basically, it is optional or it is not mandatory. Let me. It is not mandatory. Okay, then why you are using? Right? So, simple. See, on top of the class, along with the at the rate entity annotation, for example, here, how we are going to create like this, how we are going to use these things. Okay, public class, some EMP bin. Let's assume EMP bin. EMP bin. Okay, so here on top of the class, if you want to make this class as what entity, then what? Like this. Clear? Now our class is what? That employee, sorry, MP bean class is what? Entity class na? Then I have to use what? Table annotation too. See, here what will happen? It is going to mapping with what? Our POSO or our class name. Instead of maintaining separate file for mapping, This is what the mapping. That is our class mapping with what? Table. Sir, is it required the table name? If you want, you can. Otherwise, our class name is taken as what? That is table annotation. Here, let me correct my point. Sorry. This table annotation, right? So table name. I mentioned it. It means what? Table annotation. Oh, it is wrong statement, right? Table name is not what? Mandatory. Suppose, am I provide any table name here? Am I provide? No. Then what? Then our entity class will be treated as a table name. I am getting one question here. @ component annotation is there. All of you aware of it, right? See, at the time of using the @ component annotation, if I am not to provide that object name, then how that object is going to create the container? Class name is taken. Yes or no? That class name is taken as what? Object name, but the starting character is what? Lowercase. Yes or no? Right. Similarly, here also the same job. If you are not to provide the table name, table name I am talking about, not table annotation. Okay, if you are not to provide the table name, our class name will be treated as what? Table name. Getting my point? Or else, if you provide the table name explicitly, like what? Employee. Then our table name is what? Employee. Our class name is what? EMP. Then it is going to map. Clear? This is what? Coming to the point. Okay, in the programming level, I will show each and everything. Don't worry. Table annotation, we have to apply on top of what? Class name. Table name is not mandatory. It means, let me give the clarity. It means if you are not to provide table name, then our entity class is taken as what? Table name. Clear, guys? Online and offline. Clear? Okay. See, if we use like this, then that entity class will be taken as what? Table name. Clear? Okay. Next. That's all about it, about the table. Are you clear? Online? Is it clear? Okay. Right. Next one. Okay. Entity is what? If you want to make our class as a, first of all, entity means what here? Like a table. In generally, technically or programmatically, you are called it as what? Table name. That's it. Even though that entity name you are using what? In the database side too. Okay. So, in the Java side, if we want to make our class as a entity class, that means simply here, our entity class is going to communicate with what? Database. Simple. Okay, na? How? Table with the class name, variables with what? Columns. That's it. Prior to JPA, there is a Hibernate. Hibernate, if you want to map with what? Database table with class, database columns with Pozo class variables, you need to maintain the separate file. That is called hibernate.hpm.xml file. Getting my point? So, you need to maintain the separate code. That too in the XML. XML always killing the performance of the application. That's why they disconnected. Instead of that, they are using what? JPA, Java Persistent API. Our class only, our class should be performing the mapping related configurations. That's why we are going for what? That class you should be make it as what? Entity class. Simple, blindly remember that if you are creating or if you are encountered anywhere that entity class, that means our class is going to communicate with what? Database. Even that entity class is performing what? Some mapping related configuration. Simple. Okay, I already shown that point, right? So I created the MP bin class, right? Let me. Where? See, here, this is the entity class. Yes or no? It means my class going to perform some DB related stuff. That's it. Simple. Unnecessarily we can't create, unnecessarily we can't annotate it with what entity. There is a meaning. Without meaning you can't. That's why to make our class as what? Entity class. Then if you create entity annotation, immediately table annotation also required. Why? Because there is a entity class, we should performing mapping related configuration. That too in Java base. Getting my point? That's why we are using entity and table annotation. Clear? Who is asked? Vishnu. Vishnu, is it clear? Okay. In practically, whenever you start the application, then you might be get the full clarity here. Don't worry. Okay. We can discuss one more time. Don't worry. Okay. Right. Come to the next annotation. Next annotation. Entity table. Next. @ID. See, if we want to make any column as a primary key column, then you should use what? @ID annotation. Okay, right. So where you are going to apply this one in the variable level only. Okay, right. Every table in general, you know, okay, every table must have what? Every table must have what? Primary key. Yes or no? To avoid what? Duplications. To avoid what? Null related data. You might be aware of, right? In database side here. Okay. ID is what? Every table must have what? One primary key. One primary key. Okay. This is what? This is indicated. This is indicated what? By this annotation. By this annotation. Okay. Next one. Next one. @column. See, uppercase, right? No lowercase. See, every annotation, it is what? Interface. Interface starting character should be capital. If one word. If more than one word, each word of the starting character should be uppercase. That is called as Hungarian notation or camel notation in core Java. Okay, right. Column. Column. See, this column annotation what? To provide this column name for what? Variables. Okay. If we do not write this one, then what? Our variables, whatever you created now, that variable will be treated as what? Column name. Getting my point? Whatever you discussed in the table here, if you are not to provide the table name, then our class name will be treated as what? Table name. Our entity class. Okay. Number two, even in the column level also, if you are not to provide the column name, then our POSO class variable will be treated as what? Column name. That is what I am trying to convey. Coming to the notes. Okay, at the rate column annotation to provide column name for variable. Okay. If we don't, or if you do not write this, write this, that means what? Column name. Then what? Then variable name is taken as column name. Is taken as what? Column name. Is taken as what? Column name. Okay. Right. Here, can you tell me what are the mandatory annotations out of these? Entity you discuss, table you discuss, ID you discuss, column you discuss. What are the mandatory annotations? Entity, next, ID. Yes, those two only. ID and entity is the mandatory annotations. The remaining stuff is what? Common. Just you can declare that's it. At the rate table, at the rate column. So if you are not to provide the table name, then our class name will be treated as what? Table name. Even in the column level also, if you are not to provide the column, our entity class variables are there, na? That variables will be treated as what? Column names. Clear? Okay. Online, have you followed? Have you understood? What about others? Okay. Right. Let me write the one note for your more understanding. Note. Note. At the rate entity and at the rate ID what? Are mandatory. But at the rate table and at the rate column are what? Optional. In interview room, there is a chance to ask these annotations. Whatever you discuss, maybe there is a chance here. Okay? Right. Because nowadays everyone is going to work with what? JPA. Right? That's why if you are not aware of these annotations, right? How you are going to work, right? So let me give the one small example for you. Okay, example. Right. Public Class some employee. Ah, okay, right. So if you want to create one class like a public class employee, okay, then you tell me, you are already aware of it. On the class level, what are the annotations? Can you tell me? At the rate entity. That is what? To make our class as what? Entity class. Next one, at the rate table. Sir, is there any order between entity and table annotations? Is there any order? No order. You can give first table, entity, or maybe reverse. Anything is okay. Okay, there is no order. Next one. Right, come to here. So, table name, let me provide. See, if I'm not provided the table name here, then what? Class name should be taken as what? Table name, obviously. But explicitly I want to provide. Then double quotes. Any name you can. EMP tab. That is employee tab. No need semicolon. Don't exhibit your intelligence. No semicolon for any annotation. Okay? Right. Come to the variables. I created the variables first of all integer, private integer, some emp id, private string e name, private double, from e-sal or e-salary. These are what? My variables. Then first one, what? At the rate id. For what purpose? To make our field or our database column field, or maybe if you are not provided, then what? Then it can be make it as what? Primary key, simple. Right? Next one. Do you require the any name here? I need so and so X, Y, Z. No? No need. No need. Okay? Right. So which column you are going to make it as a primary key? I am repeat once again. Which column you are going to make it as a primary key? On top of that class, you mention what? At the rate id. Okay, right. Next, column. At the rate column. See here, if you want provide the name, then you can provide. Sir, I don't want to provide the column name. Simple, then what? Our variable name is taken as what? Column name. Clear? Okay, I want to provide explicitly what? EID within the double quotes. Name is equal to what? EID. Right? This EID, this EMP ID need not to same. If you want to same, that's your issue. But it is not mandatory. Clear? All of you? Okay. So, one variable is done. EMP ID story is over. Clear? All of you? Online? You are also? Oh, time almost over. Okay. Allow me few minutes. Okay, we can close it out. Unless our time wasted, right? Okay. At the rate column. At the rate column. Then you tell me I want to provide the column name. Name is equal to what? Some EMP name. I want to declare like this. No problem, right? Okay. Is all I want to provide. Any problem? No problem, no? Okay. After that, after that, after that, we need to generate what? Set and get methods. Why I given like this? Sir, you are saying setter and getter method. I didn't see that word like setter and getter. I can see only setter, getter. These many peoples also there. Are you getting first of all? If I use like setting and setters and getters methods, you don't search for what? Setter and getter word. It is always be what? Set and get only. Okay, that's what explicitly written set and get methods. Okay. If you want to string method also, even constructors. Constructors, if I use plural word, there is a default and what? Parameterized constructor. That is what the story. Clear? Okay, now? Right. How much? So 10:54. Huh? Right. So that's all about it today's session, guys, because our time is wasted unnecessarily. So tomorrow I am going to develop that program. Clear? So finally conclusion, how you are going to create the entity class. Simple. Okay. I hope you got the clarity. And if you don't want to create the table manually, the framework or that container itself, it should be taken care, then what? Even for all features I'm talking about. Okay. Right. You can add that entry in the pom.xml true, false. Where you are going to write? In the properties file, not in the pom.xml. Okay. Just I'm checking. Pom.xml just what? Only configuring starters to getting what? Jar files. Yes or no? That is what? Just you can add what? The dependent starters. But everything that code related or our application related configuration, if you are using application or properties, then you can apply these things. Or if you are using application.yml, then you can use. Okay, don't look at for what? pom.xml file. Clear? Okay. So tomorrow we are going to develop the application. Don't worry. Okay, tomorrow mostly you getting more clarity about this concept, even entity also. But don't miss the class. I'm requesting. The second one, the regularity is required, even online and offline. అమావాస్యకి పౌర్ణానికి వచ్చి నాకు సబ్జెక్ట్ అర్థం కావట్లేదంటే అది నీ తప్పు, అది నాది కాదు. అర్థమైందా? 10 మందికి అర్థమయ్యేటప్పుడు, సపోజ్ 10 మంది ఉన్నారు, 10 members are there, 9 members is able to understand, 1 person is not understanding. That is problem with what? Faculty or that one person? One person. That means either you are doing multitask, you never understand, either you are coming Amavasya once or maybe Paurnami once, then you can't get it, that subject. Okay, regularity is required, punctuality is required. See, timing also one concern. 9:15 we are going to start, 1 or 2 minutes. After Pongal holidays we started 20, 25, even 30 also, 9:30, because of we are waiting for the students. One student coming, then what? Right? We can't start the class. That is what? Either I'm sitting in front of that front office, or maybe I'm standing outside of our class. That's why. Okay, late. So we are going to start our class 9:15. Okay, if you want 9 o'clock, I am ready to take 9 o'clock sharp. Okay, right. Even though timing, no problem at all. Okay, 9:50 తీసుకునేవాడు 9 o'clock ఏం ఆయుధ రోగం తీసుకోవడానికి, అవునా కదా? ఒక 10 నిమిషాలు ముందు వస్తాం, అంతే తేడా. క్లియర్? ఓకే, రైట్. మీకు 9కే కావాలంటే 9కి స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాం, బట్ అందరు రావాలి. అడిగినోళ్ళు కాదు, అడగనోళ్ళు కూడా రావాలి. అడగనోళ్ళు వచ్చేసి అడిగినోడు రాలేదనుకో, జై తెలంగాణ. అర్థమైందా? అది సంగతి. రైట్, ఓకే, థ్యాంక్